There were also windows in this solid, hard sky through which God could shower the earth with gifts or punishments. Isaiah 24:18. One who flees at the sound of terror will fall into the pit. One who climbs out of the pit will be caught in the trap. For the windows on high are open, and the foundation of the earth shake. Through these windows of the solid sky vault, rain was poured. Genesis 7:11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the fountains of the great abyss burst forth, and listen carefully, and the floodgates of the sky vault were opened. Is that meteorological science? Is that what happened with Hurricane Irma, Pastor here? Huh? Did we say that the floodgates of the sky opened? Did we go on CBS or NBC, listen to the news, and we're told, hey, the solid sky has windows, and the gods or God are opening up those windows, and out comes the flood? No! Hey, I got a question for you. Is the Bible a science book?
No.
No way. Luke chapter 4, does that mean it's devoid of truth? No, it's all true, and some of it actually happened. Luke chapter 4:25, Jesus said. Now let's take the in and incarnation seriously. Jesus, the Galilean day laborer, first century illiterate peasant, said, and if I memorized Isaiah, it's because he could read it. It's not because he could decipher the Hebrew characters on the script. It's because he had memorized it, the whole book. Indeed, I tell you, there were many widows in Israel in the days of Elijah when the sky vault was closed for 3.5 years, and a severe famine spread over the entire land. Did Jesus have a 21st century scientific understanding of how meteorological phenomena like rain and storm works? It doesn't rain for 3.5 years, how does Jesus imagine that? Those little windows in the sky vault are closed. Acts chapter 14, verse 17. Paul and Barnabas said, for he, God, gave you rains from sky vault and fruitful seasons, and filled you with nourishment and gladness for your hearts. Where does God exist, dwell in this understanding? Above the sky vault. Any good that comes down on you, like rain, will pour down from the holes.
No.
That's how he understood it. Yeah. Now the truth is, God is with us, but that understanding is a development. Through these windows in the solid sky vault, manna was sent. Exodus 16. When the layer of dew evaporated, fine flakes on the surface of the wilderness, fine flakes like hoarfrost on the ground. On seeing it, the Israelites asked one another, what is it? For they did not know what it was. But Moses told them, it is the bread which Yahweh has given you to eat. Psalm 78:24, God rained manna upon, look at the icon. Look at the image. God rained manna upon them for food. You see the little houses above the sky vault? Grain from sky vault he gave them.
Oh.
That's how they understood it. The truth is, did it come from God? Yeah, everything comes from God, but not in the sense that literally there's windows that open, but that's how they viewed it. That's how they understood it. How about the wind? For ancient Israelites, fire, wind, and water all had the properties of a fluid, of a liquid. That's why you could pour the Spirit on somebody, because it behaves like water, like a liquid, like a fluid. You could also pour fire down on somebody because they thought it was like a fluid. It had fluid-like, liquid-like properties. That's how they thought, folks. Through these windows in this, by the way, it helps you understand a lot of the church is under imagery of baptism. Let the Spirit fall, let the fire fall. It's like it's being poured. Okay. Through the windows of the solid sky vault, even the wind, the Spirit, like a liquid, like a fluid, was poured. Numbers 11:31. There arose a wind from Yahweh that drove in quail from the sea and left them all around the campsite to a distance of a day's journey and at a depth of 2 cubits on the ground. Geez, they have enough food there? I guess so. And don't keep any extra because, that means you don't trust. Job chapter 26, verse 13. By his wind, the vaulted skies were made clear. His hand pierced the fleeing serpent. Right? That's a constellation too, by the way. Psalm 135, verse 7. It is he who raises storm clouds from the end of the earth, makes lightning for the rain, and brings forth wind from his storehouses. Jeremiah 10:13. When he thunders, God, the waters in the sky vault roar, and he brings up clouds from the end of the earth, makes lightning flash in the rain, and brings forth the wind from his storehouses. Is any of this science? Okay, but it's interesting. Please God, move Hurricane Irma away. Okay, nothing's wrong with praying for the victims of hurricane. We just did for Irma and Maria. But understand, God's not a cosmic micromanager. We believe in secondary causality. Did our ancient biblical ancestors in the faith believe in secondary causality? What is secondary causality? That things happen because there's other causes, that the universe is the physical universe is a complex network of not just one primary cause micromanaging everything, God, but many secondary causes doing things. And that God doesn't always step in like a helicopter parent and stop everything. Like, why did you get that boil on your foot? Oh, here I come. And then take out the boil on the foot. Because where do you draw the line? If God has to use his omnipotence, right? Here we go with that word. To prevent every problem, that would also prevent evolution, wouldn't it? Because without certain defects and problems, you wouldn't have the whole process that eventually our nervous system developed, that we could encounter God in over 35 different states of consciousness. So God isn't a micromanager. Sometimes you think we want God to be a micromanager, step in and solve every problem, but then that would make human virtue and its development impossible. Wouldn't it? Okay. Matthew chapter 3:16. After Jesus was baptized, he came up from the water, and behold, the sky vaults were opened for him. And he saw the wind of God, or the breath of God, or the Spirit of God descending like a dove and coming upon him. Acts chapter 2, verse 2. And suddenly there came from the sky vault a noise like a strong driving wind, and it filled the entire house in which they were. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 12. It was revealed to them that they were serving not themselves, but you, with regard to the things that have now been announced to you by those who preach the good news to you through the holy wind or breath or spirit sent from the sky vault, things into which angels, the stars, long to look. The sky vault served as a vehicle for audiovisual communication from God. Daniel chapter 6, verse 27. He worked signs and wonders in the sky vault and on earth. One such audiovisual communication from God, or sign from God, was the rainbow. Genesis 9, verses 12 to 17. Elohim said, or God said, "This is the sign of the covenant that I am making between me and you, at Noah, and every living creature with you for all ages to come. I set my bow, my war bow, in the clouds to serve as a sign for the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth and the bow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and every living creature, every mortal being, so that the waters will never again become a flood to destroy every mortal being. When the bow appears in the clouds, I will see it, and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature, every mortal being that is on the earth. God told Noah, "This is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and every mortal being that is on the earth." In the mythic Genesis chapter 1 through 11. Myth is that which will always be true and never happen. Thunder, the voice of God, is another such sign. Exodus 20, verse 22, Yahweh said to Moses, "This is what you will say to the Israelites. You have seen for yourselves that I have spoken to you from sky vault with the thunder." Jeremiah 25:30, "As for you, prophesy," that means speak on my behalf, "against them all these words and say to them, Yahweh roars from on high. From his holy dwelling he raises his voice. Mightily he roars over his sheepfold. A shout like that of vintagers echoes over the inhabitants of the earth." It's thunder. Indeed, various meteorological phenomena announce God's intentions to those who know how to interpret them. Luke chapter 21, 11 and 25, Jesus said, "There will be powerful earthquakes, famines, and plagues from place to place, and awesome sights and mighty signs will come from the sky vault. There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and on earth nations will be in dismay, perplexed by the roaring of the sea and the waves." Perhaps the most important and often overlooked feature of the sky vault is the opening that allows one to travel from the earth to the other side of the sky vault, where God abides. According to the ancient Israelite tradition, God created an open sky for Adam. In the apocryphal 2nd Enoch, it is written, quote, "so that he might look upon the angels singing the triumphal song, and the light which is never darkened was perpetually in paradise." Of course, after the disobedience of the first creatures, that opening to the other side of the sky vault was closed. In fact, Israelite tradition in general believed that the hole or opening was permanently closed. Yet God could open the hole to the other side of the sky vault as desired. Isaiah begs God to do just that. "Oh, that thou wouldst rend the sky vaults and come down." Where is this opening located? Many ancient peoples believed that the opening was located directly above the earthly residence of their God. For ancient Israel, the opening was directly above God's temple in Jerusalem. For the Hellenic peoples, it would be Delphi. This explains why Jesus could not ascend to God in Galilee after his resurrection. He'd hit his head, because the opening is not there. Of course, what they're trying to describe is an ASC experience. The tradition mentions people who had access to the realm of God and traveled there up through the hole. These were mainly holy people like Enoch. Genesis chapter 5, verse 21 to 23. When Enoch was 65 years old, he begot Methuselah. Enoch walked with God after he begot Methuselah for 300 years. He lived a solar life, 365 years. And he had other sons and daughters. The whole lifetime of Enoch was 365 years. And then he was no more. The books of Enoch date from the 3rd century BC to the 3rd century Common Era. Others went up through the hole in the sky vault too, like Elijah, Ezekiel, and John of Patmos in the book of Revelation. The sky vault opened at Jesus' baptism. On coming up out of the water, Mark tells us, he saw the sky vaults being torn open and the Spirit like a dove descending upon him. Just before he died, Stephen looked through the opening over Jerusalem and saw Jesus standing before God, Acts 7:56. And Stephen said, "Behold, I see the sky vaults open, and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God." Though he was in Joppa at the time, Peter had a vision of food descending through the same opening in the sky vault. Acts chapter 10, verse 11, Peter saw sky vault opened and something resembling a large sheet coming down, lowered to the ground by its four corners. These journeys to the sky and visions of the realm of God occurred in what contemporary cognitive neuroscience has identified as an alternate state of consciousness experience, or a level of human awareness that is different from ordinary waking consciousness. This is how God has physically hardwired us through the sacrament of evolution, physically equipped human beings to communicate with the deity and the realm of God. As 1 Samuel chapter 3 verse 1 puts it, during the time young Samuel was minister to Yahweh under Eli, the word of Yahweh was scarce and vision infrequent. Hey, thanks for watching. Just continue the playlist for the next part of the study. If you have further questions, this is good. They will get addressed, so keep watching. If you found value, please subscribe, like, and share. As always, questions, comments, and criticisms are most welcome. God bless you.